Good evening and welcome to the Wednesday, September 19th regular meeting of the Colonial Beach Town Council. At this time, I would ask if you have an electronic device that will make some kind of noise during this meeting, please turn it off or remove it. Be very helpful, thank you. The meeting is called to order at this time. As we normally do, I'd like to take a moment to stand for a moment of silence, and then it will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. It's great to see such a large crowd out here today. Roll call of members as far as follows. Everyone's here. Is there a motion to amend the agenda by moving resolution 38-18 under new business to immediately after item 6, council announcements?
So moved.
Is there a second? Mr. Alger?
Aye.
Mr. Lyburn?
Aye.
Alice?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Phil?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes. All right. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Is there a second? Mr. Alger?
Aye.
Mr. Lyburn?
Aye.
Mr. Lehman?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the minutes for February 10th, 2018 work session, June 20th, the 2018 regular meeting, July 14th, 2018 work session, July 18th, 2018 regular meeting, and August 15th, 2018 joint meeting with the school board? Is there a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Alger? Aye. Mr. Lyburn?
Aye.
Mr. Lehman?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you. Council announcements, Mr. Alger?
I just want to thank everybody that came out on our first home football game this year. Quinn and myself, along with a few other people in town, are trying to put a little initiative together to try to get more people that normally don't go to a football game and or the volleyball games or any other sports that's going to be coming up here in the future. So anybody that did show up that normally doesn't come to a game, I want to thank you for coming out for that. We do have another home game coming up here, I think 3 more weeks. This Friday and then 2 more weeks after that, correct? So we have 3 more home games coming up. So I just want to let everybody know, if you haven't gone to a football game, we're trying to do new things here. Haven't gone out to the volleyball games, try to show up for that as well. What we want to do is we want to try to make sure that people that normally don't interact with the school has a reason to come out and maybe start helping out with things that the school might need, or maybe you're looking to volunteer. So if you have any availability this Friday, we've got the game coming up, and so we're looking for some more support for that.
Thanks, Frank. Burkhead?
Nothing but
Dallas?
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to recognize this is our first regular meeting that we've had since Beach Arts Music and Mentoring put on their 2nd annual concert. Last year when they did the concert, they raised around $5,000, and they divvied some of that money back out to the school arts and music programs. This year, with the help of a lot of volunteers, a lot of stuff that was donated to silent auctions and such, they raised almost right at $9,000. And I think I'm on the board of directors. We met after that when we got our treasurer's report, and we voted to put $2,000 towards the Torrey Smith Rec Park, and also to donate $1,000 to the elementary school and an additional $1,000 to the high school for the arts and music programs in both of those schools. So just want to say thanks to all the volunteers. We couldn't have done it without the volunteers, and I know we're planning a little appreciation day for all of our Beach Arts Music and Mentoring volunteers. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Dallas. Steve? Bill?
I'd just like to thank everybody for turning out tonight. It's really appreciated, no matter where you fall on the issue. Thank you.
Bill?
I'd like to thank the Public Works Department for preparation for Florence. We were fortunate enough we didn't get a direct hit. Unfortunately for the folks further south from us, but I know there's a lot of effort that went into that to get the town ready, for Florence.
Thank you, Phil. I'd also like to echo that sentiment. Thank you to the leadership staff and the police department and the fire and rescue squad, fire department, the Westmoreland County and Bill Cease for their extraordinary efforts in keeping us apprised of what was going on. I thank the vice mayor for stepping up. I was out of town in Colorado. There was no storms there at the time, but anyway, I'm glad that we didn't get a direct hit. And but had we, I think we were in good hands. And so that's very comforting to know. Also, if you don't know, on the 22nd, this Saturday, there's a big beach music festival on Town Hill. If you haven't got your tickets, please go get them. It's going to be a lot of fun. Get your toes in the sand, as they say. So we'll have a good time. Anyway, with that, we'll get down to business. I'd like to ask of our community, since everybody out there can look left to right and recognize somebody that they know. They either go grocery shopping or live next door or are involved in some volunteer organization or activity with each other. And this next subject that we're bringing up is contentious, to say the least, at some level. What I would ask is that we're mindful that we are neighbors and that we are friends, and this is just one of those issues where we may not agree with everything, so we have to agree to disagree. With that, I will say this up front. If it gets out of hand, I will gavel you and I will have you removed from the audience. That's not something we need to do or want to do, but it is something we will have to do. So please keep it very professional tonight. We're going to get through this as quickly as we can with respect to the nature of it. Okay? Thank you very much. With that, I would like the council to go to item 9, tab F, and we will discuss the sale of Eleanor Park. So Resolution 3818 authorizes the sale of Eleanor Park. With that, we have a public hearing scheduled tonight. At this time, I'd like to open the public hearing. first up to speak is David Lorms.
I did not sign up to speak.
Okay. Okay, no problem. Okay. Did Alberta Mescal?
I did not sign up to speak.
Okay. Tom Savage?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Councilman. I'm Tom Savage. I'm a resident at 1109 Irving Avenue in Colonial Beach. And I've got my notes here on my little machine. I want to go to them. They're very short notes. Don't worry about that. I've been a resident, a legal voting resident here for about 3 years. I've owned property here for about 10 years. I plan on living here the rest of my life. I'm speaking as an individual tonight. I'm a member of a number of boards in town, the Colonial Beach Foundation, the Colonial Beach Performing Arts Association. I just finished cutting the grass on Town Hill for you forgot the croquet game, Mr.
Oh,
Mayor.
I'm sorry. Sorry, Tom.
We're having the 6th annual Alexander Graham Bell Croquet Tournament at the Town Hill this Saturday morning before the Beach Music Festival. We hope, if our income goes as planned, that we will have now in the 6th year donated $10,000 to the fire department. That's what I'm targeting for. We're up over $9,000 now in the first 5 years. I'm voting in opposition to selling Eleanor Park. I'm looking at it more of a historic perspective than anything. I'm also a member of the Colonial Beach Museum and the Northern Neck Historical Society, but I'm not speaking for them either. I'm speaking as an individual. I usually do my own research, but due to work I haven't been able to do my own research, so hopefully what I'm getting ready to quote is accurate. In 1882, the original developer of the White Point Farm subdivision, which is our town pretty much, Henry J. Kent's established Eleanor Park and other public amenities. I've personally seen the plat. It's an old plat. I'm sure you all have seen it many times. It's been published in a number of books. You probably have it around in the town hall somewhere, probably hanging on the wall as well. The conveyance was to have and to hold the same in trust for the benefit and the enjoyment of the owners of the lots. That's the development of the White Point subdivision that ultimately became Colonial Beach. The owners of the lots in said subdivision forever. I realize that some of you may want to sell this parcel of land to try to reduce some of the town's debt load or to maybe have a little bit of extra money coming in, but you'll always have debt. Towns always have more debt than they want. We all have more debt than we want. But this is history. We've had this property in your possession, our possession, since 1882, over 100 years. I'm asking that you don't sell this part for short-term benefit. Let's use it to our benefit. Open green space is important. There have been studies that show that it helps the overall mental health of a community. It's just a good thing to have. More houses. I like houses. I own a house. I live in a house. But we have enough houses. We don't have enough space. And we should use the space appropriately, not sell it for a quick buck. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Kathleen Flanagan? Also, I forgot to mention, you have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Kathleen Flanagan, and I live on Riverview Circle here in town. I am also employed by the town as the town clerk. For the last 9 years, I have listened each and every time the issue of selling Eleanor Trailer Park has been discussed. I have read all the documents presented, both pro and con. I have heard every argument presented, both for this sale and against this sale, and I am familiar with the documents and the history of this parcel. But I must speak from my heart. I am quite impressed with the organizational skills of the Don't Sell crowd, and I'm truly impressed with the volunteerism, citizenship, and community service that come from those same people. I see you out in the community doing what you can do to create a better quality of life for all of us, and I thank you. Excuse me, but I support the sale of this parcel of land, and I would like to offer several bullet points why I support this sale. One, real estate taxes were just increased 10 cents. 10 cents. The county raised our real estate taxes 2 cents. That's a 12-cent increase. One time, 12 cents. Between the town of Colonial Beach real estate tax rate, which is 80 cents, and Westmoreland County tax rate, which is now 41 cents, we pay $1.21 per every 100 of assessed value for our homes. 2, Eleanor Mobile Home Trailer Park has never been a park. It was a trailer park. There are no parking areas. There's no parking areas. There's no porta potties. There's no places to sit. There's nothing to do. It's not a park. It's zoned R2. And do we really need another park on the Point? I live and pay taxes and live in Bluff Point, where some of my neighbors have gravel roads. We have no parks near us. If I want to take my granddaughter to the park, I put her in the car or I put her in the golf cart and I go to the Point. We have a lot of children, but no parks. And as to using it as a rest stop for joggers, walkers, and runners around the Point, just a short distance away is a beautiful beach, and on the other side of the road is a beautiful bay. Either is a perfect spot to stage comfort areas with amenities for those who like to walk, run, jog. Third point, money from the sale will be squandered. The money from the sale will go entirely to fund capital improvement projects. The school will get 10%. That's $90,000. The fire department and the rescue squad will each get $45,000. The remaining sale proceeds, $720,000, will go into the capital improvement fund for capital improvements. Capital improvements are not the same thing as operating expenses. It's the extras. It's surfacing a road, putting in a water fountain, landscaping, benches. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Joni Millward?
I didn't sign it to speak.
Okay.
My husband.
Okay, no problem. Eric Nelson?
Thank you. Eric Nelson, I live at 1321 Lossing. This subject has come up quite a few times since my husband and I moved here in 2012, and I have spoken at every public hearing that's been associated with it. I feel very passionately about this subject, as anybody who knows me understands. And also, as anybody who knows me understands, my passion is not derived from the fact that that anything that relates to the park is about the view that I get from my house. The reason why I feel passionate about this subject is because I think it's wrong to sell the park for several reasons. First of all, economically, this is not the best use of selling the park is not the best use of this town asset. This town asset could be used in a variety of different ways to bring in the town even more money than the sale could bring in. The Friends of Eleanor Park have developed business plans, business models that could prove that we would be able to achieve a financial gain to the town through leasing out the property for different events. Ecologically, it does not make sense to sell a part of town that is so in such a bad floodplain. That part of town retains a lot of water. The water's at every rain, there's a lot of standing water. And frankly, that part of town needs flood management, stormwater management, and the park could be part of that stormwater management project. Philosophically, the town gets its character, its history from the connection that it has to the Potomac River. And this is the only park that is on the Potomac River. And to remove that connection between the town's public space and the river would be, in my opinion, philosophically the wrong thing to do. Legally, I think all of you have received a letter that has been prepared that states why we feel legally that the town does not have the authority to sell the park, and the attorney has mentioned several reasons. Most importantly, though, I don't think this park should be sold because this town council should not undo the wishes of the people who set aside this property at the beginning of the town to be used as green space for the people of this town in perpetuity. Perpetuity does not mean until 2019 or 2018. In perpetuity means in perpetuity. So for those reasons, I'm opposed to the sale of the park.
Thank you. Alan Jarvis, Jay?
Jay Jarvis, 225 Boundary Street. I'm for the sale. I support the sale. And Kathy hit on all my points, and I just want to remind a couple more. The funds are long-term funds that we received from it. For a guest area, for social events, that's a guess. I wanted has each of you, don't answer the question, but have you received the study done by the Vice Mayor on the closure of Eleanor Trailer Park? The study that she completed and provided to the council with the recommendation, and it was the town manager had requested a study of the sale of the closure and possible sale of Eleanor Trailer Park. Did you all have seen that, right? Correct. That it should be in your package somewhere. I support her recommendations wholeheartedly. Where she said recommended that, and the money goes into capital improvement, as laid out by Kathy. But she also put an emphasis in there on a community center. That the sale of that would then, the comprehensive plan could then pick up building a community center. And that was the recommendation. And I have a copy of that report. I suggest all of you to get with the clerk and get the copies. If you have not seen that, this has been studied to death. Now, when was that study done? 2009? Not much has changed since then, except indecision. Thank you.
Christy Malkin?
I really hate public speaking. Mr. Mayor, Councilman, my name is Christy Moffin. I live at 122 Spotswood Lane. I'm a weekender who became a full-timer 2 years ago. I built my forever home here. I just want three points to make. I agree with Tom and Eric that it's part of our history and it was left for the town to enjoy. Eleanor Park is unlike any other place. It's not sun and sand, it's grass and trees. It's on the river. Everyone can enjoy it. And I believe that it should be a park for everyone to enjoy. And if done correctly, with creativity and imagination, it could be something that draws people here. We have lots to draw people here. That could be one of them. And perhaps not 6 property owners or 11 or 12 property owners, but dozens of property owners who'll buy those older houses and renovate them, the derelict houses and knock them down, new houses and new lots, if we have something to draw people here. My late husband and I bought here because we visited a friend. Tom and his wife visited that same friend. Another couple visited that same friend. 3 homeowners. Tom and I are becoming full-time, rest of our life, homeowners. I have friends who visited me from my old neighborhood in Spotsylvania, moved here full-time before I did. If people come and visit Colonial Beach, they want to stay here, and we need things to attract them to visit here. The other point I want to make is, in recent months, 3 attorneys have written you guys about a supermajority vote. 2 of those attorneys, part of their specialty areas or land use. So this is what they do all the time. The other was the mayor of a small town, so he knows local government. So while I don't want you to sell it, and the reasons we'll have to agree to disagree, if you do sell it, please do it above board and use that supermajority. And if there's a doubt whether or not there is a supermajority, I think, but I'm not sure, that through the town attorney or our delegate, you can ask the Attorney General's office to give an opinion. And that opinion could go your way, in which case you take a lot of wind out of our sails. We're willing to take that risk if the town is. Thanks.
Tommy Edwards.
Mr. Mayor and Council, my name is Tommy Edwards. I live at 11 2nd Street. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to remind you of something when you were sitting next to me on council. When you talked about your grandparents and your parents and your brother lived at Eleanor Park. What a great time you had there and everything. And with the removal of those trailers, Mr. Bone made a study on that. We've lost a lot of money over the years because of that. But I just want you to, when you get on your knees and say your prayers, don't look up and tell your parents and grandparents you did the best you could. I personally, I sit up here and I'll say it again. Yes, we need to sell Eleanor Park. Very simple reason. We don't have deep pockets in this town. We have a budget freeze on. We can't hire police officers that we need because the money's not there. Other than that, yes, it's beautiful down there. If I was in Eric's shoes, sure, I'd have got a petition up. I don't want to lose my view of the river if I was there. But it's one thing we can't hardly do. We can't control who lives beside us, in front of us, or in back of us. Prime example, I had a shed put in the next door neighborhood, that blocked my view, but I didn't whine and shout and act like a little baby because they blocked my view. That happens. You can't control what's going to be built when you move in. On another side note, Mr. Mayor and Council, y'all probably aren't aware of this, but Captain Hawkins of the Westmoreland County Sheriff's Department came to 2 clubs that I'm a member of and solicited funds for the fire service. Now why, I don't know. The fire service should be ringing these walls here to help, because the sale of that is going to give them $45,000. And to hear him talk, they're in dire need of equipment. And Mr. Mayor, I know, you know, and I know, equipment goes bad after years and everything. This council, way back, when I think maybe Mr. Lyburn was one at the time, we had to pay $58,000 for air bottles that they needed because they couldn't do their job. We had to separate it in 2 separate budgets to make that. That was a lot of money taken out of that budget. Now, I don't know what's going on with the fire service, but as a former fireman, I do know they need that equipment. And yes, that sale of that property will help them. Other than that, they should be coming in here, should be knocking down these walls, asking for help. But they're out there trying to get it, making an end run by having a man who's a captain of the Westmoreland County Sheriff's Department do their bidding for them. It's a sad note, Mr. Mayor, but they need help, and this will help them. Thank you, sir.
Kathy Bachman.
Good evening, Mayor, Councilman. Kathy Bachman, 1501 Augustine Lane, on one of the lots. No surprise to you guys, I'm here to talk to you about thinking hard about how we vote. And we will agree to disagree on the history and the right to sell it. But as a taxpayer, and I have to tell you, I thought long and hard today. Do I wear green or do I wear blue? Because I don't want to be, in this conversation, one of the green shirts. I want to make sure as a taxpayer that when you go to vote, you're doing it the right way. Is supermajority really needed? And what will be the repercussions if we vote majority and then let it be sold. You know, I looked at the letter that was recently sent by the recent attorney, and I found it to be pretty aggressive. But that is the fourth attorney that has told us that we need to look at a supermajority or to have the AG clear it. And I don't want us to be irresponsible as we vote and have repercussions from a seller who thinks they're going to have a property potentially and not have the right for us to have sold it. So I ask that we clear that right off the plate. Christy did a wonderful job, and Tom and Eric talking about all of the points, but this should matter to everyone here, regardless of the side, if they want to sell it or not sell it. How we vote on this is critical. Thank you very much.
Eric Christensen.
Good evening all. My name is Eric Christensen. I live next door at 18 Washington Avenue. I've been here for 2 years and I'm opposed to the sale, as you all know. My reasonings is that I want the town to be responsible with the taxpayers' money given our past sale of the police department at what I personally think is a below market value. $900,000 is below market value. It's less than what was offered 2 years ago when I got here. We seem to be going the wrong direction on price, and we're sacrificing the need of our current budget shortfalls versus our history and versus something that can be a draw to Colonial Beach. I worry that we're trying to replace the funds that were overspent on the school with the sale of this property. I just want what free space and what town assets the town has to be utilized correctly, because the decisions we make now will adversely or positively affect us in the future. That's it.
Thank you. Karen Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm Karen Sullivan. I live at 2010 Beach Avenue. We've been my family's been a property owner since the 1980s. I've been a voting resident, full-time resident, since 2013, April of 2013. I have been opposed to the sale of Eleanor Park from the very beginning. As soon as I moved down here, I became aware of the issue. I'm opposed for multiple reasons, many of which have already been stated very well. So I will truncate my comments and focus on a couple things. As far as the idea that this is simply a bunch of adjacent residents, we have proven that not to be the case. We collected over 500 signatures on a petition that was presented to council last year to save Eleanor Park as a park. We have a group of citizens that have spent their own money and gone out of their way to form a 501c3, Friends of Eleanor Park, that will help maintain the park and develop the park in perpetuity as we can use this as green space. I also worked with a lot of other citizens to put together a proposal that would bring the town a significant amount of money for a conservation easement. That proposal was very well received, and our explanation for why they didn't offer us any funding for a conservation easement was because they felt like, despite a unanimous vote to make the proposal, that some members of the council were adamantly opposed to saving the park and placing it under a conservation easement. We have been invited to reapply once we have council that supports putting a conservation easement on the park and developing it for public use. There are 2 other organizations that provide funding for the same type of conservation easement, And between the three of them, we can approach the $900,000 that's being offered for a sale at this point in time. The new offer is contingent on some items, one of which I believe is putting six houses there, which is a significant reduction in the amount of future real estate revenue that would come in from the original town plans, which estimated between 11 and 12 or even more houses to go there. As far as our budget, we have lots of property that can be developed for increasing real estate revenue. In Classic Shores, there are places for hundreds of houses that would provide that revenue. And also, within the town, we have a lot of buildings that need to be sold because they are just losing value because they're not on the market for sale. And that would be a great alternative to destroying the most beautiful piece of property that we have. And the only piece of property left that was dedicated to this town, except for a small part of Robin Grove. Thank you.
Gary Seaver.
Mayor and Council, all you other wonderful people. My name's Gary Seaver. I live at 99 Irving. I lived here for 37 years and also probably died before the guy that talked before me. My house is for sale, but we're going to stay in town. This discussion's been going on for about 13 years. I was on council when we closed the trailer park. I've heard some discussion about we can agree to disagree on whether you can sell it. Well, I've seen a Virginia State Supreme Court ruling that says you can sell it. So I don't think that's an issue. We've been fighting over selling property for as long as I've been in town. I'm going to give you a couple of examples. The Yacht Center. I don't know how many $100,000 a year that now brings into town, but that was a big fight. The piece of road down by High Tides that I think we sold for $40,000. He pays $60,000 a year plus on his business. Is $900 too short? I won't fight that, but like was mentioned last week, you've had two offers for $900,000. That's the market telling you what it's worth. Another thing is the land by the water tower was supposed to be sold, as well as the land where the old building burnt down, to pay off the new school. The water tower land is now going to be set aside as open green space for the basketball and tennis courts, which could replace, if you worried about keeping something switched for something, sell the park. You already switched it because you keep in this land you're supposed to sell towards the paying off the school. I don't do well on this side of the table. I won't do up there. You know, and I heard the lady just say that 501c3, you know, about maybe maintaining after if it stays a park. You know, we have to consider the fact it's going to cost us money, and one of the reasons it got closed was the money was going to have to be put into it to keep the trailer park in usable form. Somebody mentioned keeping it open for rental for events. We've been trying to rent the Town Hill for events for the last 10 years. Okay? There's been a couple of people that paid money, most don't. They let them use it for nothing, which I have a problem with, but that's there if you want to rent something to somebody. Floodplain. My house was in the floodplain, and Isabel got flooded. A friend of mine in the trailer park wanted to put his golf cart behind my house because he lived in the trailer park. Behind my house, it got ruined. If he would have left it where it was, he'd been fine. Yes, the land does get soggy. Go to anywhere in Colonial Beach after it rains and step out in your yard, it's going to be soggy. It's a flat, soggy mess. The petition that was raised, I got from a good source that approximately 200 of those are registered voters. I'm not saying it's a bad petition, I'm saying that leaves over 1,000 registered voters that were not on that petition. The silent majority was mentioned last week. A lot of people don't care, I understand that. Some think we're not gonna sell it for nothing. They've always said that. We sold the Art Center, when we sold the little piece of property we sold over town, that we put the money in the capital improvement fund from, they were all complaining about they weren't. The thing is though, if you sell it, after a while it generates enough revenue to make up that difference of what you thought it was worth. The supermajority, I think the lady made a good point about maybe getting an AG's response. You just need to make sure that the letter sent to the AG does not give him the answer that somebody wants. They ask him for an answer. I think legally though, it doesn't require a supermajority. It is not waterfront property. I think that's enough.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, with that, that closes the public hearing. That's all that was signed up to speak. I'm sorry. I'm sorry?
There's people in the back.
They didn't sign up. They're not signed up. I'm sorry. If you're not signed up, we're not speaking tonight. Sorry.
I wish you'd announced that. I didn't
Excuse
know
me,
there was a
Mr. Mayor,
sign.
there was a pro, a con, and a public comment. I signed
sorry.
the public comment. I assumed that,
Okay. Did you sign up for public input?
yeah.
Okay. What is your name?
Barry Millwood,
Okay. And you thought you were signing up to?
to speak, yeah, I'm
Okay.
sorry, I misunderstood.
We'll give you an opportunity to speak then.
Thank you.
So, public hearing's reopened again.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. My name's Barry Millwood. I live on Livingstone Street, so I'm not affected by a view or anything like this here. I just would go back to a comment that Councilman Rogers made the last meeting that I was at, which is, how can you really support this without knowing what the money is going to be used for? We know what some of the money is going to be used for, but we don't really know. Capital Improvement Fund, I'm sorry, I do not believe that you sell assets to maintain roads. Real estate taxes maintain the roads. If this gets used for maintaining roads and which roads get maintained, and then what asset are you going to sell to fix my street, which really needs fixing. I think it's very important before you make a decision on this that we all understand fully exactly what the money is going to be used for. And I don't know if you do. And that's what I really wanted to have to say, because in industry, if you're out selling your assets and using that money for maintenance, you're pretty much liquidating your business and you're not going to be around very long. I don't want to see that happen to this town. Thank you.
Thank you very much. With that, we will close the public hearing. And we will reopen the meeting, and this time we will, Resolution 38-18 authorizes the sale of Eleanor Mobile Home Park. Is there a motion to approve the sale?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. It's up for discussion now. Mr. Alger?
I just want to bring up a few points that some of the speakers mentioned. I kept a little tally. I don't know if it's official or not, but I have 7 for keeping the park and 4 for selling the park. So just on that right there, that's just the speakers. That's not official. There's a few that didn't fully state exactly what they want to sell. One of the points that everyone that wanted to sell the park brought up was the possible tax income from the real estate. And the reason they want to worry about that tax income seems like we're going to reduce our taxes once we sell this. As I said before in previous meetings, and I could be wrong, but it's just me doing research, we're going to get about $20,000 in the sale of, or the real estate tax for that. That is, like I said before, 0.5% of our total income for the real estate revenue. And if we're going to load taxes just because that $20,000 is coming in, that means we're going to take away 0.004 cents, which means our tax will go down from 80 cents to 79.04. So that's not that huge of a difference in taxes. Mr. Sieber had mentioned that when we sold all the other properties, those all went to businesses. And yes, businesses will bring in a lot more tax revenue for, if it's a restaurant, sales tax for food, sales tax for sales in general. So those will bring in a lot more money because they are businesses. These are gonna be residential properties. The main income from that is going to be just the sales, or the real estate tax, the personal property tax, and then the small percentage of what they would be spending as new homeowners coming into town, going to the grocery store, going out to eat. Unless they're planning on spending $10,000 to $15,000 a year, when I did the math on that, I don't have it with me right now, that's not much either. It's another $2,000 to $3,000 in total taxes. So the fact that selling this is gonna help us pay off our taxes or lower taxes just doesn't seem feasible. Driving around town the last couple of months, I noticed that there are houses being built in the last year or so. Right around from where I live, there was 2 brand new houses, but we didn't lower taxes when those were built. There was 2 new houses on Euclid that I believe that is right about where the intersection of 5th Street would be at if it went all the way through, but we didn't lower taxes when those 2 new houses came in. There, as I drove home from work one day, I saw that there was a property for sale and it was sold on 2nd Street, and I saw them tearing down the trees to build the houses that are probably going to go on that one, but I don't think we're going to lower taxes because those houses are coming in. How many other houses are being built in town that are going to add to our tax revenue that will be more than this $20,000 in combined, but are we going to lower our taxes just for this one sale? One of the reasons why we did move our our real estate tax up to 10 cents more this year is because we wanted to put that cushion in. If we remember, if we raised it up to 8 cents, it still gave us a little bit of cushion, but we went up to 10 cents to make sure we can recuperate what we had lost from those years that we found out that we weren't, using our taxes properly. We weren't taking into account that extra 5%. So if we are thinking that an extra $20,000 in revenue from real estate is going to help us reduce our taxes, there was no point for us to even raise it up to 10 cents to begin with. We wouldn't have had to raise it that high up if we feel $20,000 extra is going to help out and what we have for our income. And as everybody else knows, I'm the one that is supporting not selling this, and for many reasons I've stated before, and emails that I've sent out in regards to this topic that's been FOIA'd, and just conversations with people in town. You understand why I don't want to sell this property, and a lot of the people that oppose this property, well, I had these same views before I even met a single one of those people. They have the same views that I have. It is a property that is an asset to our town. We're gaining an extra $20,000 in real estate and possibly losing $1 million asset that can be used for bonds, loans that we can use for other purposes. If we recall, several meetings ago when Gladys and Quinn had brought up the fact that there was the $300,000 that the school had left over that never got properly reappropriated back or never used properly, that's $300,000 that technically we could take from the school and put it back into our funds. If we know the school's gonna get $90,000 from this property, why don't we take $100,000 of that, and now they've gained an extra $10,000 from what the sale would give. As Mr. Edwards mentioned, that the police or the rescue squad and fire department is looking for money as well. Well, why don't we take $50,000 from that $300,000 we got and put that towards the fire department and the rescue squad? They gained another $5,000 more than they would have had, and that leaves us $100,000 left over that we can put back into our capital improvement plan that we don't have any money in right now because we use it to pay down the school. Several people have mentioned this before. I think Steve is one of the ones that mentioned this. We need to replace an asset with another asset if we are to get rid of this. And as mentioned, we do have the new Torrey Smith Park coming in, and that is helping replace that, but it's not a park that was never a park before. It was a place that the kids used for the school. People can go and play softball, baseball, open field. I remember playing Pee-wee football there. That's where we had our practices before the game. So that's always been a park. Just because it's a different park now does not mean it's not going to be replacing the old park that we sell it. So I do take into consideration that everybody that doesn't want to sell it, and I do agree with most of the people that don't want to sell it. But I don't think that what we're gaining, and I've said this before, is going to make up for what we're losing as a whole. Not the individual parts, but as a whole, we are not gaining back what we are losing. And that's why I don't want to vote to sell for this part.
My thoughts are, it's a nice area. I've been here since 1966. I've seen the trailer parks there.
Can you speak into the mic and turn it up?
Can you hear me? I moved here in 1966. There was trailers down there on that end of town. Once the trailers was moved, it was empty space. Nobody was using it. I hear people say that they walk the dogs, they go down there running around through that. I ride around that park every day before I go to work, and I ride around when I get back at night. I don't see a soul down there. It's just a piece of property just sitting there. So, my thoughts are, is to sell it, take the funds, put it in the capital improvement, and so we can move ahead. We've been beating this horse for the last 15 years, so it's time to stop. It's time to stop. It's not, I'm saying with Mr. Alger, you know, I listen to everybody, but we can't do anything if we're just sitting there and nobody's using it. You know, I'm sorry about somebody that want to see the water every day. I had people move over next door to me. They put a fence up there. I didn't complain because it's their property. Okay, understand, it's the town's property, but we need to sell it, take the money, put it where it needs to be so we can move forward. We can't make anything with it sitting right there. Everybody said about green space. We got a lot of green space right here, but we need to sell the property so we can move forward and get these bills paid and get our debt in a situation where it can be handled efficiently. And I think we got a good town manager who will make sure the money is spent in the places where it needs to be spent. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Mr. Lehman?
Mr. Mayor, my views haven't changed. When I ran for council, one of the things I ran on was the empty buildings that we have sitting that are falling down around us that we're not actively trying to sell. Somebody mentioned out there earlier that you know we sold the police station at what they considered under what it was worth, and we did that in hopes that the buyer would go in and put in a reputable business, which I still think is going to happen. I know he's currently working with architects and such to hopefully have the building open maybe in the spring. But you know, we've got the old bank building there. I'm from Southwest Virginia, for those of you that don't know. And in Southwest Virginia, there's a lot of small towns, and every small town has an old bank building. Even if it's a big town like Blacksburg, but you go to Narrows in Southwest Virginia. All these banks have vacated these old buildings and went out to newer places like BB&T or where Union is, and they've put great restaurants into them, and people drive for hours to come to these restaurants in this old bank building and have dinner in a bulk with their significant other. But yet I don't see us marketing that building, but every time I drive by it, it's falling down. You know, you can't go in the building because of the mold in the building, or at least the last time I was in there. We've done nothing to make that building sellable. I agree with Mr. Alger. You know, what's $20,000? I understand $20,000 is probably a lot of money to the town manager. He brought up in the work session that would buy some computers. But I personally think that we should have computer replacement built into our budget, and if we don't, then why don't we? I think it's an asset that needs to be replaced with an asset, just like Mr. Serby said in our work session, like Frank just reiterated. And until we sell the buildings that we have, that we're responsible for, that we're not maintaining, and we're letting fall to the ground, I will not vote to sell Colonial Park. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Serby?
As a builder, I'd love to build 6 nice houses on Eleanor Park. They would definitely add to the town. However, my whole point has been from the beginning on this, and it's been stated by a couple up here already. You know, we've got an asset that I'm not even sure what we're carrying it at on the books, but I know it's more than $900,000. We use that asset to as a borrowing ratio, a bonding ratio, and so forth for the town to get its bonds for capital improvement projects and so forth. That was a piece of property that was deeded to the town of Colonial Beach, to the people of the town of Colonial Beach. The yacht club was as well. And everybody's great foresight, they turned around and sold that. And supposedly put the money in a manner where it wouldn't get squandered, and yet I've yet to be able to get a balance of what's left from the funds that were created by the sale of the yacht center. I won't vote to sell Eleanor Park unless the dollars from the sale are set aside to create an asset, or to purchase an asset, or identify an asset to be purchased that is of equal or better value and use to the people, not to the town, not to the staff and computers, and not to the school, not to the fire department, not to the rescue squad, to the people of the town. I do agree that we have a lot of underutilized spaces in town, and I think we're actually going to have a presentation tonight to maybe try to help utilize one of those spaces more. There's a lot of things we can do, but I think we've been bad stewards of our land, bad stewards of our properties and our assets in the town of Colonial Beach, and horrible stewards of our infrastructure and our buildings. We wear one out, we just move into another one, and we leave that one sit there to die. We've done it over and over and over again. We raided the capital improvement plan this year to pay off the hiccup on the school. If everybody wants to know why we're in trouble with the budget, just right down First Street. Not that we didn't need it, not that it wasn't necessary, and not that it wasn't voted for and approved, but it was not done well and it wasn't done correctly. And I'm not saying the school board's fault. I'm just saying that we are not very good fiscal managers in the past, and I hope we become better fiscal managers going forward. But that's pretty much it for me. I do believe the town needs to be built out. You know, we've got over 500 lots, platted lots in the town of Colonial Beach that we can't do anything with because there's no sewer and water or anything else. We've got some avenues that we could create revenue from if we really look hard. One of them is the sale and privatization of our water and sewer system, which could potentially get us a complete build out of our water and sewer system. And I'd like to see 500 houses put on the tax roll instead of 6. So I'm all for looking at more opportunities and forcing ourselves to be better stewards and better budget people, better cost consciousness, make better decisions for the town on the dollars. I refuse to take one of the last pieces of property in the town and turn it into a $700,000 debt payment. I won't do it. Thank you.
Mr. Geller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My position on this issue will come as a surprise to no one. I've written at least one newspaper article on Eleanor Trailer Park, and in my mind, our duty here is very clear. I've heard a lot of talk about an asset for an asset. Well, we've earmarked, I guess, Eleanor Park because it's listed for sale at $1.2 million. It's been on the market now for what? 5, 6, 7 years? I don't even know. We've received 2, maybe 3 offers, all of just about $900,000. The marketplace is telling us the property is worth $900,000 or thereabouts. The last time I checked, talking about an asset for an asset, the last time I checked, $900,000 cash was an asset. And it's a hell of a better asset than a piece of ground that we don't really know the value of. And when you have $900,000, we are going to not just spend that on maintenance, we're not going to spend it on operational cost, we are going to invest it in this town. And from an investment, whether it be to the school or the fire department or to our capital improvement, when we invest, you get a return on that investment. Not just the $20,000 a year we're going to get on taxes every year. We're going to get a return on the investment of that $900,000 that we invest in this town. So our position going forward, in my mind, is very clear. Thank you very much.
Mr. Kelly, thank you. Mr. Rogers?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a few comments and facts I'd like to point out. It's been said that we'll lose money based on the offering price of $1.2 million versus $900,000. It was established 3 or 4 years ago. Of course, that's someone's guesstimate as to what the value was at that time. And like Mr. Deller said, we've had 3 offers now for right around the $900,000 price range. It's been said that if we sell the property, we're just trading an asset for an asset. These comments got me to thinking. I went into town hall the other day. I was curious as just what is the owner property being carried on the town financial statements at. I decided to dig down through the financials, and I did this with Gladys's help. We drilled down through the June 30, 2017 fiscal year end. That was the last audited financial statements. And to everyone's surprise, Eleanor Park is carried at 0 on the financial statements. However, I can explain at some other time the rationale, the accounting theory for carrying it on the books at 0. And I'll do that at another time. In my opinion, having property recorded at 0, it follows accounting theory and rationale. It's correct. What I would have done probably, I would have had a footnote in the financial statements explaining how the property was acquired, that it's on the books at 0 value, that we haven't established an appraised value on it because at what price are we going to appraise it at? Best value, parkland, green space, and then every year we'd have to adjust it for economic conditions or maybe someone else's idea as what the best value is. If the property were sold today at the offering price of $900,000, our balance sheet assets would increase by that amount. $720,000 to the capital improvement plan, the $90,000 to the school, and the $45,000 each to the volunteer fire department and rescue squad. Last I looked, what's in the capital improvement fund right now, well, the $720,000 represents 4.5 times what's in the capital improvement plan right now. It will be up to the planning commission to decide what we'll do with that $720,000 if we go through with the sale of that property. And it will be for capital improvements. When we discussed the idea of maybe subdividing it into 11 lots, if we did something and sell them individually, if we did that, I think the town would be on the hook for putting infrastructure into that property. I look at the offer we have now for $900,000. I believe the buyer will be responsible for doing that. So if you compare the $1.2 million and the $900,000 offer we have here, and subtracting maybe $200,000, $300,000 to put the infrastructure in, we're pretty much in the ballpark of the $900,000. So I think it's a good offer we have. We've talked about the $20,000 of real estate taxes might be generated. That was based on the 11 lots. I think with the 6 lots, and now one of the stipulations from the buyer, I think the lots and the homes that are going to go on those lots are going to be assessed at a higher value. So I don't know that $20,000 is really in the ballpark anymore. It may be more. Let's see, one other thought. I know the school could use the $90,000. I think the $90,000 would be a good contribution to a new school bus, or possibly the school bus that's coming off of a 3-year lease program, a used bus. But I know the school could use that. And as Mr. Edwards has pointed out, both the fire department and the rescue squad could certainly use their $45,000 each. But I just wanted, I think the biggest surprise, and it was to everyone's surprise, I know after Gladys and I found out that the property was being carried on the books at $0 amount. I mean, we just kind of looked at each other. It was a big surprise. Why it never came up over the years, since we've been considering talking about selling it, I don't know. Gladys and I went in and told to the town manager this. And, it's something that will increase our asset value by an easy $900,000 if we go ahead and sell it. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. So, a lot of you know that as a kid growing up down here in the summers, my family, extended family, had as many as 13 trailers in the trailer park at one time. And every summer we spent, my mom taught school, we spent the day school got out until a couple of days before school started in that trailer park. And I think starting around 1966 or 67, and we had the trailers until at least we had ours. We actually gave it to another family to utilize for free. And they stayed until it was time that they pulled all the trailers out. So I'm very fond of the trailer park. Having grown up there, it was a great place to spend your summers, and some of the best clam digging going on out in the river right there. I can tell you that. So, it's mixed emotions for me, obviously, but what I can say is the town needs the money, and every day as the mayor and every day as a council person, I'm approached and asked about how can we do this and how can we do that. We need money for this. We want to put banners up. We want to fix this. We need sidewalks. We need this. Just so many different things, and everybody has a lot of really good ideas, and people get together and put all their volunteer time together to help. But we're at a point right now where we've stripped down the town infrastructure in terms of personnel and such to a point. And is this going to help that? No, because this is going to go into the capital improvement plan. But what it'll do is it'll help focus on that and not have to worry about putting monies in there from other entities. This property's been for sale for a very long time. We've lost a ton of money. There was, I believe, 33 trailers in there at one time. It's somewhere around, let's just hypothetically say $500 a month on the cheap side. That's a lot of money over these years that we've lost. There's been a lot of other open land property owned by the town for sale, and we've had no interest. None at this time. This is the only one that's drawn any interest. If the other properties had sold, this may be a different discussion. The needs may not be as much as they are now. There's no parks at all on the north side of Colonial Beach. Zero. Yet the lion's share of the kids live on the north side of Colonial Beach. That's a fact. I live on the north side. I'm telling you, they play basketball in their driveways. They ride their bikes. There is absolutely nowhere for them to go. And now we're going to build Torrey Smith at the water tower. And again, we're ignoring the north side of town. Part of the capital improvement plan could include a park on the north side of town. Robin Grove Park is a beautiful park along the bay. It just sits isolated. It looks awful right now. A small portion of this proceeds could fix that up into what we were hoping would be a wonderful dog park for the people to enjoy and a place to sit and enjoy the bay. So, at the end of the day, while I think green space is extremely important for all of us in our future, I also think that this town is extremely important, and I think that this is an opportunity to start to help the town. So that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
I'd just like to follow up on one thing that he brought. The Robin Grove Park, if everyone remembers the last council, that came before the last council on a vote to sell or not to sell. And the people some people in the council that are here tonight voted against selling that park that are voting to sell this park. That park has a tremendous amount of liability associated with future cost due to the erosion of the entire point over there. So, I think it's all great and well to talk about selling Eleanor Park now when we actually probably, well, I know we had a higher cost per square foot offer for Robin Grove Park before we had improved it and also before it got destroyed and before we have to do all the erosion control repairs to it. So, I'd just like to remind prior councils voted to not sell that park at a higher cost per square foot than this park. And again, and actually I think I remember, Mr. Lockburn, your comment was that you didn't think it was fair to block the view of the man across the street with boats. The man who's trying to sell his house. And believe me, I'm not a member of the green group over here. My whole issue is more fiscal management, property management, asset management of the town and so forth. But we really don't show, in my opinion, any logic we'll vote one way on one thing and a very similar situation comes up a few years later and we got a whole different mindset and understanding, and I don't get it. We don't have a theme, we don't have foresight, we don't have planning, and it's very disappointing that we tend to just run by the seat of our pants, and we've got to slow down and think about what we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
I had a couple other things if I could.
Go ahead.
I didn't have it written down. I was trying to not repeat what other people had said and what people in the audience had said, but a couple things. I got forwarded an email that was from Robin Schick, who's on the planning commission, and it was forwarded by you, Mr. Mayor, to all the members of council. Did anybody share any of that information, Mr. Hirsch?
I don't think it's something that we would, have.
Mr. Vice Mayor, I don't know exactly what you're talking about now.
There were several items brought up as far as what the buyer would have to do in order to build those 6 homes.
Yes, Mr. Hirsch had access to that email.
So you sent it to him?
No, that's not what I said. I said he had access to that email.
Okay, so how do we know that Mr. Hirsch got it?
Well, I've discussed some of the points, but I'm trying to figure out what you're going at.
The email said that he probably should know if he's going to buy that piece of property for $900,000.
Mr. Hirsch is the same person that offered 2 years ago. It's the same individual who made the offer. He's very familiar, and he's actually got his own planners for that property. So he's fully aware of floodplains, et cetera, everything that was in the email.
Is Mr. Hirsch here tonight?
Not to my knowledge, no.
It seems to me like if you were going to buy a $900,000 piece of property that's valued at $1.2 million, you'd be getting a pretty good deal, and you'd be here tonight to maybe answer questions from the council before we vote. And just so you know, Mr. Robertson, I did forward the email to Mr. Hirsch, and I got a response back from him this morning that said thank you for the information. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
That's how he got it.
If I may, just real quick, I know we're all concerned about the buyer's welfare, but he's got a 21-day due diligence period built into this offer. So I think he's smart enough to figure out what he's got to do and how to proceed. He's got 21 days to work on it and do his due diligence. Thank you.
Thank you. Real quick, before we close the discussion, I just would like to follow up on what Mr. Serby said and about Robin Grove Park, and he's correct, that all happened. I can tell you right now, personally, I would never vote to sell Robin Grove Park because that is a park. I'm voting to sell Eleanor Trailer Park because Eleanor Trailer Park was a trailer park. So that's why I'm voting to sell that as well. To me, there's a definitive difference in the two. One is a park that's utilized by everyone and was set aside for that way. This other place was a trailer park for 30 or more years, and that's what it is. So to me, there's a defined difference. But anyway, okay, so that's it for the discussion portion. And so we'll bring it to a vote at this time. So resolution 38-18 authorizes the sale of Eleanor Mobile Park and Trailer Park. We've had a motion and a second, and we've had discussion. So Mr. Alger?
Nay.
Mr. Ryburn?
Aye.
Mr. Lehman?
Aye.
Mr. Serby?
Nay.
Mr. Geller?
Aye.
Mr. Rogers?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. So the motion wins 4-3. Now, on to the remainder of the meeting. Yeah, okay, we'll take the 2-minute recess. Thank you.
That wasn't. So it's just not. All it does is still go back to
Okay, hello. In the back, in the back.
Hello, everybody. Can you please take your seats, please?
Okay, next on the agenda is item 7, which is presentations, and the first presentation is Town Hill Stage by the Chamber of Commerce.
Do you want to sit up here? Sure. Or do you want to sit?
Kathy, is there something on the screen for this as well?
I don't have anything to
Okay.
put on the screen.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Good evening, Mayor, Councilman. We're here to discuss, or we've actually got a project going on at the Chamber. It's in the early.
Can you identify yourself for people that don't
Sure.
know who you are?
Kerry Geddes, President, Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you.
We're in the early stages of a project that we're working on. I think we spoke to some of the councilmen, and then we spoke to Quinn about it. And we're kind of getting at a stage now where we just need to make sure that we've got the council on board with us. We've done some preliminary things, and we've actually got a meeting the 26th of this month with some of our sponsors for this thing. So we need to know where you guys stand with this. We don't want to put a lot of effort into it if we're going to run into some inherent problems with this thing. So I know that we sent a proposal to the town manager, and I'm of the understanding that he sent it to you guys. So I've got a copy of it, and I'm here if you guys want to discuss it, and we can go over that. Not everything's written in stone on our part. We're still working, one, with you, the council, and we're working with our sponsors, trying to get some, rock solid things that we're going to be doing. But in the meantime, everything's still kind of fluid, and we just want to make sure you guys know what we're doing, and we know what you're doing, and that you're supporting us in what we're trying to do. Having said that, I've got some preliminary drawings for the stage that we're looking at. Kathy? And there's I think I've got one in there for Quinn.
Mr. Geddes, can you give the council a brief history of just, where you are in this as far as how it came about and what the intentions are and the relationship with potential other entities
Sure.
to purchase this?
Currently, right now, with the ongoing event that we have, Bike Fest, every year we have to rent a portable stage. I think Chamber spent upwards now about close to $40,000 in the last 4 years for the portable stage. The stage that we actually built on Town Hill about 10, 12 years ago just doesn't handle it. Having the stage down by the water creates a natural amphitheater. I think that field can hold close to about 5,000 people. So it's just common sense that the stage be down there. And of course, the fact that we're spending so much money renting a stage, if we could get someone to help us fund it and build one, it would just be, something that we really need to get done. And I think, I know I've spoken with a lot of council members there on it, a lot of businesses, and I think it's something that just, we need to have for the town to be able to use us for it. We could have concerts, things along those lines that could be rented out. It could extend our season. Now currently our season usually runs from May till the end of Bike Fest. Yeah, Bike Fest. And we'd be interested in probably doing some concerts on the town stage starting in March, late March,
We'll be starting late April. Early April.
So we'd be able to extend, our season for the businesses. And of course, that's our only goal is to, create funds for businesses so that, of course, they can thrive and more businesses will come into town. They can pay more taxes. Your coffers will get fuller and things like that. One thing different about this stage than the other stage that the Chamber built is that we have signature events right now that we've got that the Chamber does that we've been doing for 60 years. Just look at, 35th annual this, 60th annual that. But we do plan on creating some new concert series events that we'd like to do. And I think some of the proposals that we've got, and we can go over those, is that the Chamber would split the funds, the revenue from these events with the town 50-50. And that's something you guys can ask me questions about and we can explain. I'm sure if you guys got the sheet, It's in black and white, but if you have any questions, let me know.
So,
I guess I'm a little puzzled because I guess we met back in late July, I guess,
Absolutely.
or early August, and as a result of that meeting, you provided us with a proposal.
Correct.
And I looked at that proposal as did the other members and of council and the town manager. I made significant revisions to that proposal. There were a number of things I felt were inconsistent at that time and still do. And I'm really not sure this is the proper venue to discuss in detail that proposal. I mean, I'm perfectly willing to do it if you think it is, but I think it needs more of a personal sit-down kind of discussion back and forth and not in this public forum. But I would prefer to, I don't even know if you all have copies of the original proposal with you. I happened to bring it because I knew we were going to talk about it. So
Perhaps for a work session.
Perhaps for a work session. Okay.
Well, and again, I tend to agree with that, because there is going to be some back and forth on this. I mean, it's obviously just going to take a while to hash this out. There's no question about it. These are just generalizations, and of course, it's definitely going to change. There's no question about it. But inherently, we're here so that if somebody here has a question, you know, if you definitely are against this, maybe we can sway your mind now, which is some generalities that we need to talk about. But if it's to the point where all of you said, hey, we're just not for it, then we're not even going to make this 26th meeting on the 26th. So we just need to make sure that, you know, I mean, make sure that the footprint that we're working on right now, everybody tends to agree with it.
so real quick, so the way I understand the nuts and bolts of this is where the existing stages have been put down for the Bike Fest at the
Bottom of the hill.
bottom of the hill.
Right.
And using a slope that goes down in the amphitheater style, which we all know is what it is. That's, this stage over here is too small, right? So,
Correct.
So you want to build a permanent stage there that'll be provided for multiple events, not just the Bike Fest. It could be jazz, blues, gospel, pretty much anything down the road. The school could utilize it.
Absolutely.
Small groups could use it, whatever, okay? Be open pretty much year-round if we didn't want to do a Christmas concert or something like that. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then it'll also be where it'll be basically storm-proof, so it'll be up high enough off the ground so that we don't have to worry about losing it every time we have a Florence or something like that. And then the way I understand it is, if this is still correct, I'm going back to late July, early August, you have somebody who is basically willing to fund.
Correct. We have two sponsors willing to fund to the tune of about $70,000.
Okay, so basically pay for the whole thing.
That's correct.
And they want advertising space for that. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that's the nuts and the bolts of it.
That's the nuts
Is that
and
right?
bolts of it.
Okay, so the particulars then can be worked out, I think.
And just to supplement that, and correct me, Mr. Dowler and Mr. Rogers, that you were present, I think what council was looking for is a proposal that is more formal in nature and written out with plan. The one page that we received was more in agreement type fashion, which really didn't constitute a proposal. I think they were under the assumption that we were going to have kind of like a formal proposal / presentation concept, potential concert venues for the upcoming year, said revenues, et cetera, nauseum. In addition to that, I do know that conceptually that the stage build has been socialized with the council. And to the original thing, we did have Mr. Getty's planned for a work session, but I think he had something that was keeping him out of town or couldn't make our last work session. Correct. And that's how it ended up on tonight's meeting.
I don't want to disagree with the town manager, but I think the agreement, frankly, is a good start. I mean, if we can agree to the salient features of the agreement, I think we can move out to there to a more formal proposal. But I have significant questions and comments on this, and I think we need to re-tee it up so everybody gets a copy of the original proposal. And if they want it, I'd be happy to send them a copy of my comments so we can get refocused on this rather than try to come to a conclusion here. there's more work that needs to be done, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I don't, this is certainly not the end of this, stage. Go ahead.
First of all, does the audience know what we're talking about?
That's why I was trying to do the nuts and bolts.
Because we do not, this presentation is for all of us, so I think that it's probably good for them to know a little bit more about this. So, you know, Eddie, or excuse me, Carrie, as soon as I'm finished, if you could maybe give the 5-minute spiel to the audience as well. I think, I know at my viewpoint, I think this is a very positive thing. I think that what I saw, I kind of took a backseat a little bit, and I know Phil and Bill had quite a few comments on the proposal that was submitted, and I think that instead of, you know, 7 of us trying to critique it and negotiate the deal, I think that we as a council need to designate a team to work on that instead of 7 of us trying to muddy the water. I know there were some issues about ownership and priority stake and this and that, and like I said, you all get all that worked out, and I think the town would love to have a bigger stage in the right place, because I, for the life of me, don't understand how the one got put where it is. But I do want to point one thing out. The Planning Commission has to go through this, and I mentioned that to you when y'all and I met first. So I think it's going to be important that you guys do a presentation to the Planning Commission really before us. That's kind of the protocols, and then they kind of go in and tee it up based on everything, and then they bring it to the council kind of. But that's the way it's really supposed to be done, and I don't think they've seen it yet at all, have you? No. Okay. So it's going to be important to do that. But again, to just taking the temperature, which is what you said, Carrie, I know I think it would be great if we could get, you know, 8 months of potential use out of a stage on the water. We're already having functions. The chamber puts a lot of them on. It would just give us the opportunity to make them a little bit bigger. But we got to go through the process. I'm for it.
I'm for the concept as well.
Kathy, can you put it on the next work session and have the Planning Commission make sure that they're here as well? Can you have something ready for us?
Sure, absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
I think Mr. Serby was onto something. I think we need to have a couple people work with these folks.
Okay.
Instead of 7 of us deciding to try and
Bill
work all this
and
out.
Bill and Phil have already.
That's
sat
why
through
we're here.
Through some preliminary
And
stuff.
obviously the town manager, I mean, he's been involved the whole time as well.
Yeah.
So are you going to appoint them as a committee?
I think so, yeah. I think it's probably the best way to deal with it.
So is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
And the motion is to appoint a committee to work with the chamber regarding the proposal of the town stage, and that committee would consist of Mr. Serby.
Nope.
No.
Mr. Rogers, Mr. Deller, and Mr. Lehman.
No,
Mr. Roberts.
And I'm not sure.
Town manager, and probably
And planning
1 or 2
commission.
planning
Thank you.
commission people.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, we need to, so from town council, the
Yeah, from
committee
the
is
council.
going to be Mr. Rogers and Mr. Deller.
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
that's the motion.
You just have to get with Robert and then find out who's gonna be on the committee for that.
Yes,
Yeah.
that would be voluntary.
Yeah.
So you just need to vote on the motion.
Yeah.
Maureen, you okay with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Oh, is there a vote?
Aye.
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 Aye. And chair votes aye, and that is for the committee. Thank you.
So now, Carrie, if you could maybe address everybody, give a little better picture of this for the audience.
Okay, well, I mean, basically what it is, again, we're trying to extend the season for the town, and, you know, there's quite a few benefits to it. The first one right off the bat that comes to mind is the fact, again, we're renting something, we're not buying it. We don't have the asset, it's costing us. When we're looking back at all the funds that we spent on running this, and we're thinking, hey, we could have bought one by now. And I'm not talking about buying a permanent stage, I'm talking we could have bought a portable one that we could have stored somewhere and brought it in. And, you know, that's a big cost to us, so. The second line of thought that follows in place is to go ahead and build one that's permanent and it's there. that can be used for all the current events that we have and all the current organizations that we want to use it. And, you know, it's more or less a natural amphitheater. It's, you know, a great backdrop to, you know, what everybody sees. So it's a no-brainer. And, you know, looking at the stage and things that could be done, we're looking again, like I said, putting on a concert series that would benefit the chamber, benefit the town, benefit all the businesses, and again, extend our season. So it's, in our mind, a no-brainer, especially since it's really not going to cost the town a dime. It's really not going to cost the chamber other than our, you know, brain power. We've got sponsors who want to do it for us. And I think, again, that's a win-win situation for everybody.
So I guess what we're actually, I'm Brian, High Tides, I'm Tommy. I guess what we're really trying to say is we're trying to build an amphitheater in town. Is that kind of summing up a little more? Where we want to have high energy concerts, meaning more your Billy Carringtons, your more upscale concert venues that will bring outsiders in. They'll come in, eat the restaurants, stay in the hotels. We got, you know, and a lot of this we want to do during the week, not as much on the weekends. So that's the kind of direction we're looking. Something to up boost the make cash registers run during the week instead of just the weekends. So we could have a Friday, or we could have a Saturday night on a Tuesday night, and that would be great. That would benefit us. It'd benefit the hotels. It'll benefit your pockets for, you know, for what you're trying to get done in town here also. So that's kind of that's pretty much the nuts and bolts, Mr. Mayor, what we're looking to do.
If I could, just to fill in a little bit more for the townspeople, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the ideal is to really, as Brian said, try to get a little more activity during the week. Almost, you know how like Richmond, they have a music thing almost every week, every Friday. I think Fredericksburg has one, and so forth. And this still would be
Solomon's Island.
You know, yeah. So, you know, something that would start earlier in the evening and not run late. But this also doesn't mean superstars, but it can also mean small groups as well. You know, but the facility would be such that it could be very versatile to either a small quartet or a full-scale band. And so I think it's got some great opportunity. It's very disappointing that the old stage has really never taken off, but I just, again, it seems to just have stigma, you know, with it. And location-wise, it's really not in the best spot. And quite honestly, I'd love to see you take the steel structure and roof from that and move it down and put it on a new one. Instead of leaving that one there blank like we tend to do. We leave things and move on to another one, but I'd love to see the structure moved. And because I'll be very honest with you, we don't only have to look at flood, we got to look at velocity zone wind loads on this here. So
it will be it'd be an engineer design.
So you know, I don't know, cost wise, you know, we could maybe look at that, but that might be an option to utilize that as well. I don't know.
I do know one thing. It's got probably the finest backdrop that you'll have anyway.
Oh yeah.
I think that I think at the end of the day you'll hurt a lot of the other venues.
And the other thing is, I mean, I think it needs to be looked at in the overall scheme of the revitalization of the boardwalk as well. To make
well, we're trying to put a plan on the stage we want. We don't want to like take this and put it on that. We want to take something and structure it and make it correct from the get-go.
But again, I think the planning commission will probably need to review the revitalization thing in conjunction with it.
Thank you.
Good stuff.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Okay. Sorry for making everybody wait so long. Colonial Beach Schools?
Good afternoon. I promise you I will not be long. I just want to take an opportunity to let you all know the school has been underway now for about 3 weeks. We had a really good start to the school year. The students are excited and teachers are really happy that the kids have returned with smiling faces, ready to learn. And I'm thankful for the support that I've received so far from the town, from the council, my school board members. They've been great. The community has been great, and I'm extremely appreciative. I just want to take an opportunity also to thank Colonial Beach Outfitters. I know that Mr. Alger spoke about the first home game and the type of environment that we experienced there, and I would attribute a large portion of that to the work done by Mrs. I can't say her last name, Grisovich. Thank you for saying it, man. I didn't want to mess it up. But her and her husband have done an excellent job of supporting the schools. They have taken a large part in organizing with our high school principal the homecoming parade, and they've raised funds for a program for homecoming that night and the football game. They've planned a field trip for one of our classes. They've done an awesome amount of work in a short period of time. And I just wanted to make sure that we recognize their efforts, and I wanted to let them know publicly that we greatly appreciate that. But then also too, I wanted to make an announcement. I will be working with the school board to plan a State of the Schools event where I would like to invite once again the town council out and some of the community members to provide you with an update as to where we are with the school and current events and our academic performance, and really just make sure everyone is informed about all the great things that are going on inside of the school division. So I will come back to you with your October meeting and provide you with the date, and hopefully with an invitation that you can take home so that you can know that you're invited to take part in that. Okay?
Perfect.
All right. Thank you guys so much.
I know Larry's out of town. Planning Commission? Maureen?
Good evening. We've had a long one so far. We have recently completed our questionnaire series to all the town council and all the members of the Planning Commission. The results will be sent out with our Planning Commission minutes and a calendar for our next meeting, which is the last Thursday of every month. And we'd like all of you to have a copy of that, so I will make sure each of you get a copy, and please come to the meeting. We're hoping that in our analysis of the entire comprehensive plan, and many of us have read it many, many times, that we have found in working with capital improvements that there are over 30 suggestions and moves that were accepted for the comp plan that we have never addressed. We have made a comprehensive list of all the things that should be done in the town, and we hope to prioritize that list so that it will supplement and help our capital improvement program even greater. We hope someday we will have a strategic plan that will give us a time slot for how we address each of these items, and also include the staff so they know how we're trying to help them get things done. Thank you. Any questions?
Questions? No. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Downtown Colonial Beach? Chamber of Commerce? Susan?
Good evening. Wanted to let you know that the Chamber added one more business to our rosters. A Good Day for a Run is a business out of New Jersey, but they sponsor runs in and around the Colonial Beach area. One at the brewery recently, and Ingleside has done a few with them. That brings our membership up to 166 members. We have a new Bike Fest website that's very interactive, full of information. In fact, I've gotten some questions from the police department about schedules and times for events. So It's a great resource for people coming to the event and for local folks as well. The Chamber of Commerce education curriculum has been a really big hit. We've added classes and instructors. Our intern continues to work with members one-on-one and in small groups on basic computer and photo editing classes, and I think the Artists Guild has really taken advantage of that photo editing class. Eric Nelson taught a Business 101 class on August 28th, and we had 10 or 11 people in that class. It was open to the public, and this is a way for the chamber to bring people into the chamber to learn about how they can open a business in town. Eric's going to do another class this month, and it's writing a business plan. It's to help people learn how to write a proper business plan. Again, that will be open to the public. It's at 6 o'clock in the evening, and it's a brown bag lunch, or a brown bag dinner for that matter. Since we last met, the chamber sponsored the 39th annual Rod Run to the Beach, the 4th annual Waterfest, and the 52nd annual Arts and Crafts Show on the Boardwalk. All these events reported larger audience than in the past, and were met with compliments from attendees and vendors both. The Chamber is also co-sponsoring right now the Artists Guild Regional Art Show in collaboration with the Artists Guild. The show was canceled, the Art Walk and show was canceled last Friday, but this Friday you can hear Carol Morgan from the Fredericksburg Art Center for the Arts speak on how decisions were made judging the art. And by the way, the art is right here in Town Center. The Artists Guild show will be open the remainder of the month of September on the weekends, and at 2 o'clock on Sundays, each of the rest of the Sundays of the month, there'll be a talk by a specific artist on different art mediums. Upcoming chamber-sponsored and co-sponsored events includes the Northern Neck Beach Music Festival this Saturday. Thank you for the plug. The chamber is a support to the foundation. It's a foundation fundraiser, and the chamber is helping out and supporting them in that effort. We also have the 5th annual Colonial Beach Bike Fest, October 11th through 14th. The 5th annual Fall Festival and Halloween Golf Cart Parade on October 27th. The Urban Trail Ride, which is a fundraiser for the Colonial Beach Volunteer Fire Department, and that's co-sponsored with the Still Hot to Trot chapter of the Old People's Riding Club. The 24th annual Colonial Beach Fall Rockfish Tournament, and we co-sponsor that with the Colonial Yacht Club, and that's November 9th through 11th, and Santa's Wonderland and Winter Festival on December 1st, which also includes the Colonial Yacht Club Lighted Boat Parade. Some other activities that the Chamber sponsors include the Chamber of Commerce Volunteer Appreciation Event, which we're on our 3rd iteration now. It's going to be held on October 21st. The last change was made because we expected more from Florence. We also have a member social networking event on November 5th, and our Chamber Holiday Dinner on the 12th. We also participate in the Second Friday Art Walk program, and currently the art in the Chamber building is all from our Chamber members. So please stop by and take a peek at the art. The Chamber was open for the Artisan Trail event on Saturday, September 8th, and this was a regional event, and art galleries all over the Northern Neck were open on Saturday for the event. The Colonial Beach Foundation and the Colonial Beach Chamber of Commerce continue to work collaboratively on initiatives, and the Chamber would like to thank the Foundation for being a sponsor for this year's Fall Festival and Winter Festival, and they'll also be supporting our Easter egg hunt in the spring of 2019. The Foundation chose these events because they focus on enhancing the experience of those folks who live in Colonial Beach. We're grateful for their donation and for their support. The chamber is working on a grand reopening ribbon cutting ceremony with the Boathouse Marina. It's going to be on October 6th from 10 to 2, and more details will be coming soon. I attended the Northern Neck Tourism Commission meeting on July 23rd. Sandy Peterson, who is the, Pearson, I'm sorry, who is the president of the King George Tourism Advisory Committee, shared the county's plans to mark the tricentennial in 2020. And they're doing a lot of work with beautification, signage, branding logos, love signs. They've got all kinds of ideas that they'll be putting in place and through to 2020. I also met with Jan Swink again recently, who indicated that Ron Self is ready to bring a truckload of Christmas decorations that he will be donating to the town. We're all very excited about the donation. One item reportedly is a 3-story canvas snowman that will light up. So we're very excited about all that. And before giving Ron the go-ahead, we'd like to get with the town. I think they're going to look for some property at 700 Colonial for storage for this stuff, and maybe we can get Jan to get in there and scope out the place and see where everything can fit. And as always, the Chamber would like to thank the Town Council for your continued support.
Thank you.
Any questions?
I just have one question, if I might. Your Bike Fest is right around the corner. Are there any permits pending, or do you need anything from the town? Where are we? Have you received all the permits and permissions you need from the town? You submitted an application. Has that been approved?
Well, we submitted all the permits at the beginning of the year.
Yes.
So they have the permit application, and what we do is we ongoing give addendums to the application, and there are still addendums coming in.
But the initial submission has been approved, or has it? I guess I'm trying to understand, have we done everything we need to do in order to satisfy the upcoming Bike Fest?
The short answer is no. I know that our police is still working with the chamber on parking, and I think, and this is another piece that isn't a part of the towns, is I know that the chamber is working out some specifics around the ABC license, but we have nothing to do with that, so that's not town driven. And I think that there was also some security and like some finer points and details that are being worked out either. So the answer is that, as Susan mentioned, it's an evolving thing. There's multiple steps to it. I don't think everything's been brought to conclusion.
Having sat through many of these meetings, I think it's probably about where it is every time. And because there's a lot of moving parts. For instance, I will tell you, Kerry Geddes came to me yesterday. I had dropped off a golf cart up there, and he told me that the ABC people who used to only require 5 to 6 security people where they sell the beer, now want, I think, 35?
30.
30. So they've got them, they came up with them, but that's a huge change in the commitment. And what happened was, it's just a matter of, there's a new agent, new ABC agent in town, and this person is a little more aggressive in the rules. So, but those kind of things are hiccups. They come about, and you know, we've gone through. You know, we used to have 70 Dodge Johns. I think we narrowed that down to what we actually needed, and then the dumpsters, and but all that kind of stuff ends up working itself.
I just wanted to be sure that we're not the hold up on anything.
I don't think so.
No, sir.
Whatever needs to be done, we're doing it on our part.
And it's new information, I think, that we're working on, like the new information from ABC about the number of security and whatnot.
Being that our building official's new, we probably ought to bring him up to speed on what to expect that he's got to look at the last second as things show up in town, the stage and so forth. And he may not, I'm sure he's not aware of that. So we probably ought to maybe have a little briefing for him.
Yeah. He's aware of the activity. He doesn't know the finer points to your point. But yes, absolutely.
And we're happy to add anybody that you would like to be added to the Bike Fest committee meetings. I send out an email reminder for everybody, so anybody that would you'd like for me to add to that list, I'm happy to do so.
Is that still on Sunday mornings?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Susan.
Thank you.
Dr. Farney, are you here for the Colonial Beach Foundation tonight?
I am. I thought Resolution 38 was a hard act to follow, but after hearing Susan with the activities of the Chamber of Commerce, that makes it even worse. But let me bring you up to date on what the foundation's doing, because we've been very active in the past few months. To begin with, in the spring and then extending into the summer, we coordinated the donations from organizations, businesses, and individuals, and were able to send 15 kids to the 4-H camp this summer. We provided startup money for the new choral society called Connection Chamber Choir here in Colonial Beach. I understand that they have 27 members and need male voices. We've provided a startup grant for the Colonial Beach Performing Arts Society, and they, as you well know, they now have a production that is going on at the community center. We've planned and executed 3 Sunday fun days to kind of fill the void on Sunday afternoon for the citizens of Colonial Beach and for the tourists not to rush out of town before they go back to whatever their weekday life is. And the aim, of course, is to provide some entertainment at the end of a weekend to keep people in town. The foundation has assisted the Beach Arts and Music Mentoring Program, known as BAM, with their fundraising events. And as you heard earlier, they, through their fundraising efforts down at the community center, they were able to donate to the schools several $1,000s, and also to the Torrey Smith Park project. We provided a grant to the Downtown Colonial Beach organization to provide banners and to begin the beautification project that they have for Colonial Avenue. So it's a more welcoming place for the citizens and for tourists to come into Colonial Beach. The Colonial Beach Foundation has provided a grant to the Colonial Beach Humane Society to help thwart the problem with feral cats in town. Of course, the big thing is we're managing the funds for the Torrey Smith Park. And I can tell you that we've had more major donors than I thought would be possible from our town, and more than 600 people have donated funds to create this recreational park with Torrey Smith as the main backer. And of course, as Susan has said, one of the things we're doing is sponsoring this Saturday the first annual Northern Neck Beach Music Festival, which we're featuring 2 bands, dance instructions for shag dancing, and a lot of music for dancing. So if you haven't had your ticket, you haven't bought your ticket yet, better get to it. Thank you very much.
Hey Eddie, can I give
Sure.
Mayor and Council just a quick update on tourism?
I'm sorry.
No worries. We're sometimes on it. We're often not. But you know, we started this season off, as you know, probably wondering where we were going to be to welcome our guests. And we just finished it up. We opened up on Memorial Day, and we just finished up last weekend. We had over 150 volunteer hours to greet guests this year, and we saw 1,146 guests. And the flow was terrific. They found us there on the boardwalk, and we look forward to a great season next year as well. We had over a dozen volunteers. A couple of them are here tonight. Betty Whitestone Jay Jarvis, Tom, and Savage, and Karen Self-Sullivan are there, as well as others who volunteer and be ambassadors for the town. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is item 8, and it's resolution 30-18, application of Memorial Advisory Commission. It's in tab A of your book. I believe the nuts and bolts of this is that Mr. Deller and Mr. Serby become part of a commission and interview persons who are interested in picking up where we left off, where the town left off with the awards and things of that. Does that make sense? Okay. Does anybody have any questions about this? Okay.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion.
Yeah. Okay, is there a second? Mr. Allen?
Aye.
Mr. Lyler?
Aye.
Mr. Lehman?
Aye.
Mr. Serby? Aye. Mr. Deller?
Aye.
Mr. Rogers?
Aye.
Passes. Chair votes aye. Thank you. Next on the agenda is resolution 31-18, appointing Steve Kennedy to Tourism Advisory Council. It's in tab B of your book. He's got a lengthy application in here. Is there any questions on this? Is there a motion to approve this?
So moved.
Is there a second? Mr. Alger?
Aye.
Mr. Burkett?
Aye.
Mr. Lehman?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you. Resolution 32-18 ratifies the hiring of Anthony Tony Swinson as the building official. That's in tab C of your book. Is there a motion to approve this? Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, I just have a quick question, I guess for Allison.
Mm-hmm.
Allison, the original resolution called for Tony to be certified by December 31st. I see that that has now been changed until July 31st. What's the reason for that?
It was to change it to follow what the state code had as the giving him 1 year to receive the certifications, but we fully expect, as he does, he's moving forward, and we fully expect it to be done by December 31st.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Mr. Allen?
Aye.
Mr. Lyman?
Aye.
Mr. Lehman?
Aye.
Mr. Serby?
Aye.
Mr. Deller?
Aye.
Mr. Rogers?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you. Next is resolution 36-18, authorizes the reorganization of the Department of Planning and Community Development. Is there a motion to approve? Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion.
I have an item here. I guess I was here, but I didn't think it had moved out of the work session. I'm still concerned about us developing or building 2 departments, each with 2 people in them. One now, it looks like the managerial structure has changed. It looks like Rob is going to take over the building official portion, and Allison, you're going to have, I guess, the zoning portion. Is that correct so far?
Rob will be overseeing, he will be my supervisor, the director of planning and zoning supervisor, and he will also be the building official supervisor.
Okay, he will be the direct supervision of the building official, and the building official will perform the supervision of the code enforcement officer.
That's correct.
Okay, and then the other one was the deputy town manager. Oh, I see, and he's also going to be, so you're out of the loop directly?
I don't think that should be in the ordinance, whether the town manager delegates that role or not. We don't set, we don't basically create ordinances to tell him how to run the staff. I think that needs to be struck, and then it can just be informally done, just as he would assign any other activity in management of the town. But I don't think it should be in an ordinance, because if something happened and we wanted to change things around something, you know, so I think it should be struck in the
Do you wanna try to amend this, or you wanna bring it back to the next?
I'd like to go ahead and approve it, but let's amend it by striking that if could be.
Mr. Mayor, I was Mr. Deller, I don't think this thing ever got past the working session. I believe I brought up the point that we were splitting hairs and splitting departments, and we created a position, as Rob being the deputy town manager, but we still hadn't written the job description for him. So I would be willing for this to go back to a work session for further discussion.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so we'll do that one first, and, any discussion on that? Motion second. Mr. Allen?
Aye.
Mr. Laverne?
Aye.
Dallas?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Okay, Bill?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Okay, I'll vote aye. I think we'd like to look at this a little bit closer.
I think we need to get some input.
And that's, I got to say, that's my fault. I did not,
Well,
I wasn't involved in this enough for me.
to Mr. Lehman's point, we actually modified the job duty description for the deputy town manager to support this activity. How it didn't get into this is unbeknownst to me. I'll take that hit, but we actually did modify it, so, for council's view.
Well, and there again, I don't think this body's ever seen Rob's new job description with his new title. Forgive me if I'm wrong, I may have missed it, but, and yeah, I probably would have went for it had it been maybe in front of me, but it's not here. So
Again, I think that, it is going back to the work session now, but I do want to make sure that we get, maybe a brief from staff or the town attorney on the departmentation as the code kind of creates.
That's fine. Okay, is the delay gonna be significant, Allison, to hurry them?
No, sir.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Can I just briefly express my major concern here is that we are organizationally establishing two departments with two people in each of those departments, which is, in my view, a building of a bureaucracy, number one. And then number two, we take that organizational division and then we fold it back into a functional combination at what they're doing exactly right now. So I just, when I see things like this, I always ask myself, what's the benefit to the customer? And I, for the life of me, can't see the benefit to the customer by doing this.
Well, I can sure elaborate on a lot of the problems that our past structure created.
May I give a thought?
Yeah.
What I've found over the years is that there's been somewhat of a disconnect in areas that we needed to have that synergy between these departments and Public Works. There are a lot of different things that need utilizations that Public Works could make of a closer relationship with the building inspector for one, and even planning and zoning. Because there are a lot of times that over the years, there are Public Works entities that should have been involved in the planning process all along, and they were not included. You know, because of the need for us to have that intricate knowledge when we're developing the system.
That's a different point. We can discuss it at the work session, but I mean, I fully understand that and agree with it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't support the need to have two separate divisions.
Well, yeah. Can you put your opinion down, Maureen, and we'll get a chance to look at it. Thank you.
I would hope that everybody will take a look at the roles, mainly the building officials, very clear in the state statutes on the building official. And the idea, I think, really is we have had in the past a tremendous amount of problems with the zoning administrator being the boss or the head of the building department. It's a problem, it's a conflict, and we are right now lucky to have two new people in that town that are actually probably the best qualified that we've had in these roles in a long time. And the proof is in the fact that they're catching holy hell from the public because they're following the rules and doing it right. And everybody is complaining about it. Well, too bad. And so I think we just really need to, make the proper steps to let this function properly as it should and as it's contended under the code. my opinion, it is nothing more than just who somebody reports to. That's all. I'm not talking about changing anything else or creating a separate room or space for them or anything else. It's more of a chain of command issue than anything else. It's all I'm seeing and all I'm asking for.
Thank you.
And it sounds like that the town manager would be able to actually appoint those and propose that to you, however he wanted to propose it.
And, but again, it is in the building code, it's pretty clear what we require.
Okay.
Because I don't want bureaucracy either.
Okay. So we'll come back to that, and Mr. Geller work with you folks, get his points. Okay. So next on the agenda is Resolution 37-18, recommending the appointment of Maureen McCabe to the Board of Zoning Appeals. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Is there any discussion? Mr. Allen?
Aye.
Mr. Lyburn?
Aye.
Alice?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Thank you, Maureen, if you're still out there, stepping up again. Okay, let's see, next on there is Resolution 39-18, authorizing the town manager to execute the emergency 9/11 dispatch agreement. That's in tab G.
I think that's 4018.
I'm sorry?
Is it 4018? It says 40.
It just says 39.
On the agenda, it's 39, but on the calendar.
Resolution 48.
Okay,
Okay, so it'll be resolution 39.
okay. Whatever one, I believe we discussed this at least twice.
That's the one we approved on a late Friday afternoon.
Yeah, I think so, yeah, exactly right. All right, is there a motion to approve it?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Allen?
Aye.
Mr. Lyburn?
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Bill.
I'm sorry,
It's okay. I'm sorry.
I guess I missed the approval on a Friday afternoon.
That was by consensus.
That protocol.
The original.
I think the town manager.
So that was a
I-
different agreement.
Yes, and I.
Huh?
Just kidding.
What? That's a different agreement. I mean, and I got the old agreement here, I brought it with me. And in the old agreement, there were two issues. Number one, our town attorney hadn't reviewed it. That was number one. And number two was the C attachment, there was no attachment. Attachment A, there was no attachment.
We did receive the attachment.
Okay. And so I guess as we look at the current one, my only concern is that we are agreeing to pay the county the actual cost. And we haven't talked about this for quite a while, but back before we had talked about it, I thought and feel very strongly that there should be some not to exceed amount in there, or an estimated cost in there, so that we know what our liability or limit is unless we wade ourselves back in. And a perfect example, I guess, would be for you, Steve. I mean, have you ever signed a contract with a client to build a house and it was at cost?
The attachment A does have, has estimates in it.
Well, it also seemed to me that this only carries for like 6 months at a time.
Yes, Mr. Mayo. We have a 6-month way out with it. And the agreement is to pay for our own costs, and there are always unforeseen costs, so that we can put a not to exceed to, but what happens if there's a catastrophic failure, et cetera.
Well, that forces it back here so we all understand there's been a catastrophic failure. I mean, you just don't enter into agreements with, we'll pay whatever it costs. Well, who does that?
I had extensive discussions with Mr. Rasavi about that. We explored ideas such as putting a minimal amount that the town would pay to the county every month, and then depending on what the actual cost was, it would be trued up. Mr. Rasavi felt that that was burdensome for his financial department, his finance department. I discussed doing it quarterly, that we would make a quarterly payment, and then if we owed them more money, they would just bill us or something like that. And he was steadfast in wanting the agreement to say actual cost. And there are numbers and estimates contained in that attachment.
Well, I think it's poor stewardship on our part. Does anybody know how much we appropriated for this effort?
I'll have to go back and check with Gladys,
I'll tell
but I
you, it's
do.
$270,114. So what happens if we go over that?
Well, it's actually less this year than it was last year.
Fine.
So,
I mean,
but the other side of the coin is, we don't have a dispatch center. We really don't have a choice at this point, but over the course of the next 6 months, since we have an out every 6 months, if we wanna seriously look at going through the whole dispatch thing again and seeing, and working the numbers. But this is, the E911 is exactly what it is. It's dispatch services. Now, what we could do is maybe reach out to the state to see if we could get some extra help from them, but I would think the county has already done that. And, you know, we get the share of we get to split their cost savings as well, I would assume.
Mr. Diller,
Yeah.
may I answer the question about what if it goes over 270,000? The town manager, I'm sure, tracks the expenditures, and so if we get to say 9 months into the year and we're at 90%, he would bring that back for a budget amendment to council.
That's
Well, I'm not so
what
sure.
I was asking is, how often do we get the cost presented to us?
Every month.
Monthly.
Okay, so we will be able to forecast based on a monthly basis.
Roger. And then once we're in the agreement for a year, then we'll have a yearly.
You know, as long as we are getting the cost
Every month,
regularly
we have
and
a
reviewing
language
and
in.
forecasting it, I think we could probably deal with that.
Okay.
All right. So that's where we are. I mean, we can certainly, moving forward, we can look at tweaking this thing somehow, or
No,
get
I mean,
more information from them, and we'll know going into the next 6 months that we have questions, and we should just.
Well, they've got a line item in their budget for it that that, you know, as far as our revenue.
Right.
So they should at least be willing to identify what they are anticipating in their budget as revenue from the town for the 911. I think that's reasonable.
They typically do, and also, let's say if there is an unforeseen cost, it's gonna move it over the understood, monthly cost or whatever it is. They would produce the invoices and the explanations. And if it's something that would have to be split across the county versus the town, there would be a certain percentage thereof, and all those things, mechanics are there.
I understand this, and our legal counsel knows it better than I, but I mean, if there's an issue with this agreement, you look to basically the four corners of the agreement. And here the four corners of the agreement say we will pay the cost, no matter what it is.
Yes, sir. I would say that all of the figures as to cost with Westmoreland County are a public document, so you do have the ability to access those, and we're not really in a bargaining position at this point. So
The attachment A that you referenced.
Yes, sir.
Established an estimated cost, I suspect.
Mm-hmm.
Why isn't the estimated cost here?
I don't know.
That's my point. That's my only.
Okay. I mean, I have it, and I can email it to all of you.
Okay. Thank you. All right, so, we're still on this, is there any more discussion?
Nope.
Mr. Alger?
Aye.
Mr. Wyburn? Mr. Lehman?
Nay.
Mr. Serby?
I think I'm gonna have to vote nay. I think we need to be able to identify it as well. I mean, I'm not trying to muddy the water, but I just stood up here and grandstand about cost and controlling costs, and I think I've got to take that position as well.
Okay. Mr. Keller?
Nay.
Mr. Rogers?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. What we got? 4-3? Okay. And, again, I think at this point in time, our hands are tied. So we
Understandable, I think that maybe what the vote here does is hopefully encourages these things to be corrected, and Norm loves to tell us what he will and won't do with our positions, and I think we've got to learn to take a strong role with them in the future.
Yeah, I get that. One of the things I will say on this though is with the E911 is a lot of that is state funding,
Yes.
and you really can't, the county, as much as they may want to, I don't think they do, they couldn't tinker with that really a whole lot, because they would be, set themselves up for some serious trouble doing that.
Requirements of it, but the dollars we're talking about are our dollars.
Yeah, I know.
Not the state's.
I understand that. Item 10 is upcoming hearings, which is a sign ordinance. Public hearing to be held on October 17th, 2018. Any discussion or questions on that? Back to the sign ordinance. Still hanging around. Wow. Okay, next is citizen input. I've got Robin Schick.
I'm here to talk about the sign ordinance. No, I'm just kidding. I'm talking about that. Kathy, I have a copy for you, and then I have a pass out for everybody up there, please. Thank you. The top copy's yours, and then the others just hand out. My name is Robin Schick. I live at 125 Wilder Avenue in Colonial Beach. If you don't know, I'm a candidate for town council this November. While I do hope to serve this community in the upcoming year, there's an issue that I'm deeply concerned about, feel helpless to, and am growing increasingly weary that time is of the essence. The agendas for these meetings continually get into controversial issues and accessory items that I think divert your and the public's attention away from a very big concern. Although I will say I appreciate the decorum of the meeting today, and I think that preamble by the mayor set a tone that was very respectful, and so I would applaud how today has gone considering the controversial topic. The concern I have is the revitalization grant that's coupled with the VDOT grant for implementing the remainder of the improvements to the boardwalk that continues to take a back seat while we let precious time slip through our fingers. The new pedestrian plaza and the remodel to the north end of the boardwalk is the piece of the puzzle that we are missing. This outdoor plaza anchors the boardwalk to Colonial Avenue, framing the Potomac River visible to all as they enter into town. The design purposefully gives people a reason to walk from one end to the other, making the boardwalk an actual designation and a thoroughfare. This money, which took our community years of dedicated coordination to procure, has been seen by many as mismanaged and dismantled over the last 2 years. I can appreciate that we've been through growing pains and that many changes have happened, but we can no longer afford to pass the buck down the road, agenda after agenda. I hear brief updates from Rob Murphy with no substantial assurance that we won't lose $542,000 of our tax money, and that the mayor and the Northern Neck Planning District Commission have had to beg to keep time and time again, and I thank you for doing that. We wait and we wait and we wait, and I've been waiting to see a concrete action for months now. We now have October, November, and December left to show a shovel in the ground. It is this time that every member of this council actively work on this issue. This investment in our town is crucial to growing our tourism economy, attracting new businesses to our boardwalk, and benefits every one of our residents. It is past the point of blame or excuses, and it should be at the forefront of this council's agenda until it is absolutely resolved. The business district revitalization plan should be understood by each and every one of you and followed through on. Distractions created by things such as layaway statues, analyzing our police department, and increasing procurement limits by 250% need to take a back seat until this is secured and a major focus is taken on its importance. Losing this grant looks bad for the town. It creates irreparable damage to major funding sources through the VDHA, the Northern Neck Planning District, and VDOT. We live in a town with a population that must rely on these government funding agencies to support an infrastructure and development that our local tax population simply cannot afford on its own. Our reputation for implementing state and federal grant money is in question today. Grant management is a difficult task, and we are in the final hours of losing a hold of this vital opportunity. By January, it will be too late. And if it's too late already, then please tell us now, because I'm holding out that somehow, some way, we can all work together as a team in full support and with full ambition and still hold this thing together. Please, for Colonial Beach, place this issue at the top of your agenda and show us results that will create real change with real construction and real physical improvements to our lives that we can touch and see. Follow the concept plan that's in front of you with the money that has been placed there, and show the community that we can get it done. Thank you for your time, and if I can help in any way accomplish this task, please let me know how. I greatly appreciate your service, and I hope to see this achieved with a positive attitude that will lead us on to many more grant opportunities that benefit our small and strong community.
I'd like to take a couple minutes to make a couple points, or a couple seconds. It won't take minutes. You are absolutely correct. We were on the precipice of losing everything, all of it. It had been put into boxes, and when I say that, I mean literally put into boxes and shoved under a desk. To start it back up was no easy feat. We were ignored at first until we just kept pushing, and we really weren't begging as much as we started out demanding what's going on with this. And we reached out to the different entities, VDOT and Department of Housing, DHCA, whatever it is, and the rest of them.
Northern Neck Planning District.
Yeah, and so as we don't know, as you may know, there were some issues with the. At the time, I was acting town manager.
I'm very aware.
And there were some issues with the person who was assigned to do most of the heavy lifting for us from the Northern Neck Planning Commission.
Yep.
He had basically given up on us at the time. With Brendan's help and Rob and Bill Deller and Phil Rogers, we sat through numerous conference calls. We brought in all the people, the primary people involved in it, had meetings in this place right here. People got upset and walked out of here. Ms. Pierman was not a happy person with us, who has the DHCD part of it, or whatever it is.
She holds the purse strings to a lot
She does,
of money.
but
There's been,
what it was, let me tell you what happened. It was lack of communication, which typically, you know, there's three ways to kill a great idea. One is to delay it. Two is to create confusion about it. And three is to shoot the person who actually made the idea. That's how you get rid of great ideas. And we had done all three essentially. All right, so we had to bring the whole thing back up into today's world. With that, the monies that were supposed to be there, as most everybody knows, we were supposed to be at $650,000, and the cost of the project actually came in at $1.6 million. So we were already in half with what we could do. So we were trying to save the 542, all right? And the 542 was getting ready to dwindle by the end of 2018, December 31, 2018. We were going to have a cutoff on that. Well, working with VDOT, and I think Rob has reached out now. I think we're at a point now where
we're at 30% design.
Oh my
I'd like
God.
an update, but we also have this week we got notification through the Department of Housing and Community Development that we have an extension for construction until June 2019.
That is a miracle.
And that from that time, if there's dirt being moved, shovels in the ground, they will extend it till the end of the year, till the final construction.
I wish that would be announced.
So
at
it
these
is somewhat of a miracle.
And I'm sorry.
But we've gotten there, and I'm sorry you didn't know.
And Rob has worked with Quinn tremendously on getting this through. So,
well, like I said, I'm not placing blame. I don't want to talk about who's to blame.
You had a
That
very
doesn't
good point.
matter. I just want this discussed at every agenda meeting.
What I can tell you is that
updates are
every
important.
one of us felt the same way. We can't let $542,000 go through our fingers. You know, we're selling property, we're doing all kinds of things. This is not something that was taken lightly at all, so.
No, I
we're in a
think
good
everybody
spot.
has the same opinion as me. I just don't think I've had a full agenda where you have this many people in the audience that were here today and something like that isn't announced and told to us, because right now there's a lot of misconception about what is happening and a lot of scared.
Would you mind sharing it with
No,
the folks that
I'm
you
happy
Yeah,
to do that.
please, yeah, we just got that announcement this week.
That is
Also.
outstanding.
We've been working to get it for some
And-
time. So,
In attribution to how much you've been working for it, this will be our third extension on that money now.
And I think, to be fair, I mean, this is part of Rob's department report every month. And, you know, because of a host of things, the last 2 months we haven't had our department reports.
The only update on this item in a year has been that we're going to have somebody else design it.
No, we've
I mean-
specifically talked about it more than that. We absolutely have.
I don't know, the only thing I kept hearing is that we were trying to pare down the scope, pare down the scope, pare down the scope.
Yeah.
I didn't know we didn't want to do that. No, I understand that, but I mean, that's all I've heard.
It's very
So I
bad.
think that
Actually, I believe
correct.
that
Now, you all have been in some meetings, so you have a little more information than us.
Anyway, I appreciate it, and I hope
Thank
that
you.
next month's agenda, it is on the agenda and everybody can keep aware of the progress. Thank you.
Okay, thank
You'll
you.
see.
Thank you.
Walter?
In this town, we have roughly 860 golf carts. That equals to about $26,000. Because I'm a golf cart owner myself. But what we are going to ask is, on the golf cart path, there needs to be some maintenance work done at the entrance of Bars and Wakefield using 21A gravel with a bobcat. We're also going to ask that the town place trash receptacles along that path, as well as some park benches. There are roughly 175 people on a daily basis that use that path between Bars and 7th Street. And the other thing that the town needs to make note concerning the boat ramp. Signage needs to be placed not to allow unattended boats down there or overnight docking on that boat ramp. We're also going to ask for some signage up on the bike path, such as stop signs. When people cross over at those intersections, there's no stop sign. The other thing, we still have residents in this town that use 205 coming off of 7th Street and 6th Street and riding down 205. They will come past the nursing home as well. We are a golf cart community. When that came into play, it changed everything in relation to 205. itself.
Thank you.
And the estimated cost on this is right around $1,100. That's including the gravel and the bobcat and I don't know if y'all travel the bike that path that much, but I do. And when it rains just a little bit, it is unpassable due to the lack of maintenance. The last time maintenance was done was about 2 years ago.
Thank you, Walter.
I thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, appreciate that. Eric Christensen, I think he's gone. I think he left, okay. Is there a motion to go into closed meeting? No? Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? All right. Thank you.